Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, or if you're watching a live or a recording of this Fireside Chat, Eimear Burke here. I'd just like to welcome you all where I'm in conversation with a member of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So I would just like to start with a prayer for peace. Gomara Shiacon ar fud na crinne, Gomara Shiacon in our Jaili agus in our Jirha, Gonairi Lin, Lenar Kuj Garamaka, Galmich Buichus Jeev, Je Chivdaka, Spirit Chivdaka. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So lovely to be here, and let me know where you're from. Washington, South London, Southern Ohio, lovely. The Wirral, East Yorkshire, lovely to see you. Penzance, Watford, Norfolk Island in Australia, well done, Lyndon, getting up again, and London, Northamptonshire, Belgium, New York, lovely to see you, and the Tipperary Clare border in Ireland, that's wonderful. So Northern California, East Yorkshire, wonderful, and the New Forest, lovely. I haven't been there, I'd love to visit sometime. Alabama, lovely. Great. So you're all welcome to this Fireside Chat. It is our 91st, and it's now dark. I'm conscious. I suppose maybe it was dark last week, but really, really conscious that I'm now beginning these chats where I can't look out at my landscape other than to see the dark. Well, actually, my reflection in the window. So the Netherlands, Elmer's End, California, Spain. And ciao from Italy. So let me introduce you to my guest this evening. We go to the UK, and I'd like you to meet Maritha Barnes. Maritha, you're so welcome to this Fireside Chat.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy and honoured to be here. Hello, everybody.
So tell us where you are and what your landscape is like.
So I live here in Hertfordshire. The county of Hertfordshire, in a village called Stansted Abbots, and it is about 40 minutes north of London. And one would immediately think, oh, London, lots of buildings, lots of skyscrapers, that type of busyness. Luckily, fortunately for us, that is not how it is. We have beautiful farmlands just above from our house, where we have buzzards and red kites, and this part of the land where we are was also a Viking settlement, and even much further. But before that, the Katsivaluni tribe and the Iceni tribe, who's Boudicca's tribe, lived in this area, and we've got the River Lee right on our doorstep, so it's beautiful, lovely.
Oh, wonderful. Now, judging by your accent, it's not a Hertfordshire accent, so just tell us where you come from.
So I'm not English. I am South African. I moved to England about 22 years ago. And as life takes you on its journey, I am very fortunate that in my journey I met my lovely soulmate and husband, Stephen. And yes, so I am South African. I am African at heart, but I've come to love the UK, England and its beauty. So yes.
So what brought you, from where your heart was to where your heart is now?
Oh yes, that's true. It is my heart. My heart is here because my soulmate is here, but of course it's also still in South Africa with mum and my sister. But what brought me here was I studied teaching. And I lived in South Africa in the town or the city of Port Elizabeth. And they came around to Port Elizabeth. I was actually not working in teaching at that point, but there was a seminar for supply teachers. And I said to my mum and my dad, I am going to go do supply teaching in England. And that is what I did. I got a 2-year working holiday visa. I came here, I did supply teaching, and I got stuck. I got stuck here. That's
Wow.
how life goes. I didn't plan to stay, but that is how it happened.
The best laid plans. That is always fascinating how, one ends up someplace in the right place, but never without that intention or that awareness. I think it's just
Absolutely, totally. It wasn't a conscious decision to stay and to meet my soulmate and to carry on our lives like this. It never occurred to me that it would have worked out this way. But I'm happy and I'm glad that it did work out this way. Yes.
So what is it? The countryside is so much better to live in than cities. Some are beautiful, but not in an area of my liking. Too crowded. That's Anne. Lovely. So I know you've spoken about the Karoo Desert, and I remember driving down through that because when I lived in Lesotho, which is a little country, little mountain kingdom surrounded by South Africa, driving down towards Cape Town for 12 hours. The Karoo. So where's Port Elizabeth in relation to the Karoo? Is the desert just north of Port Elizabeth? I've forgotten my geography.
It's higher up. So Port Elizabeth is by the coast.
Yeah.
So you've got to go more inland to get to the Karoo, because you've got the whole strip along the coast. You've got Cape Town on the one side, on the west, and then you've got Port Elizabeth on the east. So basically, you've got South Africa coming like that, and then in between you've got the Garden Route. Maybe some of you have had the opportunity to go to the Garden Route. It's beautiful, but then higher up you've got the Karoo.
Yeah, and I don't know why I've associated you with the Karoo. Am I incorrect?
You are totally correct. I am at heart a Karoo child, because the Karoo is semi-desert. So it's very arid. It's arid, open landscape, and very much like Arizona, I would say, because I haven't been to Arizona, but I've got a huge affinity with Arizona, and I have a huge affinity with wide open spaces and arid landscape. Yes, for instance, Namibia, to go to the desert and yes, so it's just that you really come to understand just how special it is to love both something like the Karoo and the desert, and then to go to Ireland where it's just green and lush, and Scotland and mountainous. So it's lovely.
It struck me living, I remember meeting somebody who had been brought up in the Orange Free State and came to Ireland and couldn't cope. It's almost like, the horizon is 5 minutes away in Ireland.
Yes.
And it's 6 hours away in Southern Africa. And because he used to say that he found, the trees and everything and the hills and the mountains just coming in on him, that he just loved that wide open space. where I love containment. I love trees, and I mean, I did enjoy it, but if I had to choose, give me a green landscape where I feel that there's a container rather than that vast open space. So how did you manage that transition from the wide open spaces to, you know, life in England?
I don't know if I absolutely cope with it ever completely.
Okay.
I do hanker to those wide open spaces, and I think because I am I'm an African travel consultant, and
Okay.
and because I sell holidays to places like Kenya, you know, with the Masai Mara, where you've got open grass plains, savanna plains, the Serengeti in Tanzania, which you know very well. I think that sort of helps me, the fact that I'm visualizing and telling people about the beauty of it virtually on a daily basis. I have got that part of my soul is being looked after because I'm visualizing that internally. But I love the green spaces here as well, and I think the containment. I don't always want to be contained, no, and I do feel like I think freely in wide open spaces, and I'm the element of air as well, and because I'm the element of air, I crave open space.
You die for miles. Oh, lovely. So, what brought you to Druidry then?
So when Stephen and I met, we struck a chord straight away because we saw common, just a common ground and a common goal with the fact that we are on the spiritual path, and we could just talk for hours. And we knew that we wanted to have a spiritual path that we can follow together, because now you've met your best friend and now you want to follow a path. So we know it was going to be something in the pagan umbrella, right? And we looked at a few strands of those, but we didn't want anything with a dogma or a hierarchy, and we had certain criteria that we were looking for. And to cut a long story short, with Stephen had a bit of a dream, a premonition of a wolf, and when he went onto the internet to go and see more about wolf dreams or wolf visions or a wolf appearing to you, he sort of just stumbled upon Obod. And yes, and I was at work that day, and when I got home, he said to me, I found our spiritual path. And he said, read this. And we had Obod's page open, and with the introductory page of Obod, and I read it, and I said to him, we found it. We found it. And that very next day, we enrolled in on the Bardic grade, and that was 13 years ago. Yes, and it's just been an amazing journey. Amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Just to get back, Carmen says, is it in South Africa where they found ancient stone circles in the desert?
I don't think it's South Africa. No, it might be Namibia, you know, in the Kalahari Desert or so. And unless I'm wrong, but I don't think it is South Africa. If anyone can come up maybe with an answer to that one, maybe someone can help me here.
I bet you somebody will. What I love about the viewers here, when I or my guest asks a question, or somebody
Yes.
else does, and we don't know the answer or whatever, somebody comes up, they'll have done the research. I was
I
hoping
am quite sure somebody's going to come up. So please, African people, help me. My fellow African humans.
So when, given that your African background and you're now living here, how do you bring together or weave together your African roots with Druidry now? This is very much European based, or say these islands based, and I suppose, yes, European as well. But how do you weave the two together? Or have you? Or is it like, this is Druidry, this is from these islands? Or do you weave in the African elements as well?
I think the best way that I can say that I weave it in is because I am actually European. Because my ancestors are Dutch.
Okay.
Because it was in 1652 that a Dutch gent by the name Jan van Riebeeck, yes, that's it, and they arrived at the Cape of Good Hope, as they called it, and with their ship, because they were on their way to India. And they got off and they found this amazing land, if you can put it that way. And they were European Dutch. So I am actually a mixture of Dutch, German, and Flemish.
Okay.
And my language is Afrikaans.
Mm-hmm.
There may be other Afrikaans people who's listening, or other. So with your white population in South Africa, you very much have those which are British descent, and then you have your other ones that are Dutch descent. So for me, I'm thinking, well, I am European, much further back, and if you look at the Celtic tribes, and so I have got some of that in me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, I'm totally from South Africa and I'm thoroughbred from there. I've got this mixture in me, and when I did my DNA test, my DNA was mostly from Holland.
Okay.
So it's easier for me to know that I am actually European, even though I come from South Africa.
And then it was really interesting, and we've got some answers around the stone circles, but I'll come back to that in a minute.
Thank you.
Is it's again, South Africa's in the southern hemisphere, and we're in the north hemisphere, and it's sunrise is in a different direction. Did you find that difficult?
Yes, I did find it very difficult, because when December to us was the time of the summer holidays, and we were all in the swimming pool in December, swimming around, dive bombing one another, and so at Christmas you were in the swimming pool. There was no way that you were going to be, all covered up and indoors and cozy and a fire, and so and the whole idea of having this sunny Christmas, you've got the Christmas tree in the house, but that's forgotten because everyone's running outside and having a good old braai, putting a few chops on the fire outside. So, but it's funny to me because my Druidry, the work that I've put into that has come afterwards, and the way that my the wheel of the year it now feels normal to me to have it this way around, because I didn't really. I wouldn't say I wasn't that conscious of the Wheel of the Year when I was in South Africa.
Yeah.
But you know how you only develop maybe at a later stage in your life, you really start developing more, and you get more attuned to things as you get older. So I think now that I'm more attuned, I've just sort of fallen into the groove as it is here in Europe.
Wonderful. I'm good. I'm telling you, there is a south. According to Carmen, there is a stone circle in.
Oh, where?
Okay, Mpumalanga.
In
Mpumalanga.
My gosh! Well,
75,000 years old.
Well, that's amazing. I should be ashamed of myself.
And actually, that's not the oldest stone circle. The oldest stone circle, I think, maybe in Turkey, and it's 127,000 years old.
Wow!
So way older than what we have in Ireland. So really interesting.
Wow.
Well,
so Carmen, thank you, Carmen. That's wonderful. Thank you.
And then Catherine has another. She's done what's it now? This is in the Gambia. So and Senegal, and so Gambia is so Senegal is here like this, and then Gambia is in between, and West Africa. Oh, wow, represent an extraordinary concentration of more than 1,000 stone circles and related tumuli spread over a territory of 100 kilometers wide and 350 kilometers in length, all along the River Gambia. Wow.
Wow, that's very much of interest, Catherine. Thank you. That's amazing. Wow. Yes.
So Carmen says that the one in Mpumalanga has just been discovered recently. Wow.
Yes. Okay.
This is what always fascinating. Until we think of, this is the cradle of mankind, and this is where the first hominid was found, blah, blah, blah. And then that's believed for so long. And then more and more is discovered, well, actually, no, it was over here or in this country. I just find the whole thing is fascinating.
It is fascinating. Yes, absolutely. Because I've only become this conscious of stone circles since I've been here. And as I say, I've developed more into the whole field of druidry. Even though I think I was a druid since I was a child, really, but in certain ways, in the fact that I was an animistic, you realize that plants have a soul, and you talk to your plants, and your little friends think you're mad. From that point of view, yes, I was a druid even when I was small. I just know that, but I am with the stone circles, and so I didn't really know what was going on maybe in Africa because I just didn't explore it so much while I was there. Yes.
Wow. So in terms of where you live, are there any major sites or ancient sites in Hertfordshire?
Well, yeah. Well, we actually we've found there's, funnily enough, Stephen and I went to a lovely place where we like walking, where there's some beautiful oak trees and beautiful, massive, big beech trees, and we actually found out that we've got a barrow that's there on the same hill where we like to walk, and that is of some ancient kings or bronze period where we know that there's a lot going on here, and we are actually in the process of discovering a bit more. Because we always go to other places. We go to Dartmoor to go and see Grimspound, for instance, or some of those fabulous stone circles there, or the stone rows of Maryvale, or to Avebury or Stonehenge. But I think we're doing a little bit more homework around here. So I don't know if there's any person here from Hertfordshire who can maybe share with us the way that Carmen and Catherine did.
I think it's lovely to be able to, because all of the well-known ones, now you've mentioned places that I don't know. The Mary something or other,
Mm,
Mary,
Maryvale, yes, it's
Mary.
like a stone rose.
Wow,
Yes,
I don't know that. But it's, you know, it's so easy to go to, you know, the well-known places, and how
yes,
wonderful it is to discover places, you know, close by in your own landscape. Um,
that's exactly. That is, I think, what we are aiming for at the moment. We are digging around here a little bit more because it's funny that Stephen and I spoke about the fact that we haven't got a very strong Druid community here where we are. That we are that. You know, we don't really know that many Druids around here. And because of that, we always seem to be going somewhere else to go to the
okay, yes.
circles and so. But we want to make it our own here, and yes, so we are.
Are you a member of a seed group or a grove someplace?
Well, Stephen and I, we had a seed group up until now, which which pretty much just consisted out of the two of us, because we were looking for some other people, and we called it the Birch and Blackbird seed group.
Okay.
Yes, so we've had people that sort of came and, you know, were looking and perhaps prodding around and so, but then they sort of just disappear again. They come and they go. But now Stephen and I, we are going to start a grove, and we're going to call it the Oak and Raven Grove. And we are in the process of going to write our Druid reviews, and so that we can
Oh,
get it.
lovely. So you can have a go to two druids. Yes, brilliant.
Yes,
Brilliant.
yes, and we have actually already met one wonderful girl the other day that came last weekend who's interested, and we've got another two people who.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So yes, so you never know where it might be heading to. Yes.
My grove here, well, my Seven Howard, we started off with three, you know, three people, and then it grew. So that's how it is. So
Yes. Yes.
where's Hemel Hempstead in relation to you?
It's probably about, I would say, about 40 minutes drive.
Carmen lived there, and she said when she lived there, they discovered a Roman villa. But
Okay.
she didn't remember any ancient sites.
We know that there's a lot of Rome, and we always pick up Roman pottery and stuff around here as well.
Okay.
So there's definitely a lot of Roman history. So yes, so we know the Catavaluni tribe was here where we are. Then Iceni tribe is more Norfolk.
Okay.
Yes, and then we do also know that there was Viking settlements here, because of course people always want to put themselves where there's water. Settlements pop up where there's water, so there was some settlements along the River Lee. Yes, so maybe right here where I'm sitting, there might be some Viking remains or something under my feet.
Yes, Victoria says, I'm in Hertfordshire. St. Albans is very Roman. They have a museum full of artifacts. Have you been there?
Yes, I have, and St. Albans is very, very Roman. Absolutely, yes. I have been there. Yes.
And then Angela says there's a buried stone circle in a field near our house. I don't know where that is, that Liverpool University excavated in the 80s. There's also one of what was 3 round barrows left. I don't know. Angela, you don't say where that was. So, interesting.
Yes.
Well, I wish you well in your grove. Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Do you have like a daily practice?
So I I'm quite sure that probably a lot of people who are watching, listening, might think, well, I feel I'm a little bit too busy because work, the commuting back and forth to work and that daily treadmill where you're always going back and forth to work. I would say I cannot say that I have a definite daily practice.
Yeah.
But what I do try to do as my commute is the normal happening, I don't want to just commute. So I leave the house in the morning, I walk 10 minutes to the station, then I get onto the train from here to Hertford, and that's only a 10-minute journey. And then I get off on the other side and I walk from the train station to my workplace, which is another 10 minutes. So fine. So, but I think my main practice really, or my main daily practice is on that little walk from here to the train station where I am acutely aware. I'm very, very acutely aware of what is going on around me. Change of the seasons, really being in the moment, the birds. So when I'm standing at the station, I'm waiting for the train, I will be very conscious of little robin above me.
Yeah.
And I think, oh yes, and the other thing is I've got a small ritual, and that is when I walk from here to the train station, there is a rose bush along the way. And that, I don't know what it is with roses, but it's always the yellow roses. I don't know if anyone else has found that. But whenever I see rose bushes, the yellow ones always have, for me, the strongest scent. And I will stand with my nose in that rose for a few seconds in those roses. So that's part of my daily practice in a way, just being aware, being in the moment, and really, really being happy about whether it is, the changing of the seasons with the colour of leaves, or whether I can see some daffodils popping up in people's gardens, maybe a few snowdrops under a tree at Imolc. And of course, keeping my umbrella over my head on horrible days and it goes inside out, when your umbrella in the wind. I try to embrace that as well, but that's hard. Yes.
It's like somebody said, Julia says it's always good to pause and smell the roses. It's, it may be cliched, but there's a reason it is, that it is absolutely beautiful to stop and get that perfume.
And I really do. When I've put my nose in that rose and I've just kept my eyes shut for those 2-3 seconds, I walk off and I am sure I'm beaming. And people that walk past me go, "Morning." "Oh, hi." Because they're probably thinking she's looking way too happy.
I mean, roses are just, they're a flower of the heart. They're so healing. Yes. And that perfume is just magic. Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it's lovely. I mean, this is the thing about such a wide range of people I've chatted to about, whether they have a daily practice or not. And for some, it's, standing in their garden with their morning cup of tea or coffee and just looking at and again, just what you're doing is noticing the landscape. How is it today?
Yes.
And that, I think, is very, very simple, but also can be really, really profound. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but it's about your engagement with your landscape as it is.
Absolutely.
Without any manipulation, but just there.
That's right. That's it. And yes, and life is busy. It is in the fast lane. Yeah. So I just haven't got the luxury of having that time, say in the morning, and then in the evening you come home and then you've got to do all the making something to eat. Although Stephen helps me with that now because he's retired, so that's amazing. But you know how it is. But maybe I think one day when I'm retired as well, I think I would be more prone to then go, well, okay, I've now got the time, so now I've got to do something a bit more structured.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's about doing what you can, and it's
That's
not about what you should be doing, but
no, no.
what you can.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Karen says, love, stop, smell random roses over a garden wall, a few seconds to lift the soul. And
Yes.
and it is very uplifting. And Catherine says, I love the smell of a garden or forest after it's been raining. You get that that clarity. Something is that everything is more intense, and it's just beautiful, and that something has been cleansed in some way, or the
Absolutely.
air is clearer. It's just
Yes,
beautiful.
no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yes. We're all on the same page. Yes, wonderful. Life's small, little things that we can appreciate. Yes.
So I know you mentioned, you're a druid now, or in the druid grade, but you are also a bard. You sing and you write songs, and those who have been to the gatherings in Glastonbury will have heard you and Stephen. You have a band or a group called, and along with Ali McConnell, Willow Wolf. So I know you're on your own tonight, but would people like to hear a song?
I shall venture down that route. Yes.
Lovely, lovely.
But it will be a cappella.
That's okay.
Yes, because Stephen is, he always plays guitar, and our lovely Ali, she plays the cello.
Right.
So yes, so I shall just be singing. I don't want to say just, because just sounds, like it's inadequate. I shall be singing a song. Now, can you remember, Eimear? Well, I'm sure you can. A little while ago, you were having a fireside chat with John King.
Yes, up in Ardnamurchan. Yes,
That's it. And he said something which is something that I thought about a lot, and this song is actually about that. And he said, if we are observing nature, he wonders if nature is observing us.
that's right. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yes, and yes, and of course nature is observing us. And there's this one little thing that Hans Christian Andersen wrote about the dryad, the little tree spirit. Yes, and it said, the dryad rejoiced in her life, and she rejoiced in the sunshine and the singing of the birds. But what she rejoiced in the most was the voices of humans. And I think we sometimes have to realize that nature loves having us as much as we love being in nature as well. Yes, and I love that idea. And this song is one that we wrote, and it is actually about nature singing to the child, to her earth child. Yes, so she's singing to her earth child, and the song is also about the passage of time, because you've got the child that's playing with her when the child is still small, and then the child grows up, and then the nature takes her by her withered hand and leads her to another plane, basically. So, yes, so the song's name is Earth Child. Let me just take a sip of water before my tongue might get stuck to my palate. So it goes like this. Come, take my hand, child of the land, I'll take you there, where your weeping willows grow. Wildflowers bloom in the flaming month of June on the banks where the cool waters flow. Far away are those years of the days of play. Earth child, always stay wild. Far away, as time drifts away. Earth child, stay for a while. Child of the land, I'll take your withered hand and take you there, where the ancient forests grow. A voice can be heard like an unspoken word when the winds in the high branches blow. Far away are those years of the days of play. Earth child, always stay wild. Far away, as time drifts away. Earth child, stay for a while. Earth child, stay for a while.
And it's just so, so beautiful. Just a magical, magical song. Thank you so much. Just beautiful. So, and Lisa says, my rescue parrot just got so quiet and tilted his head to wow.
My rescue parrot. Oh my gosh, how cute. Thank you, parrot.
We're getting lovely comments here. So beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful, lovely. It's just wonderful. Happy parrot. That is just great. When you think of oh, and then this is what Pat Booker said. Fergus just came up and leaned in for a cuddle while you sang. And then this is Michelle says, how beautiful. My 2-year-old drifted off to sleep.
Gosh, one thing that I will say, right, is when Stephen and I entered OBOD, we were just playing around. We had like 2 or 3 songs that we had written. The one was Forests of Green. The other one was, I think, it wasn't Children of the Sun. It was 2 others, right? And we knew about the Eisteddfod, at the gathering. And we thought, let's just give it a go. Why don't we just go up on stage and just sing our songs and so. And I have to say, OBOD members are the best audience ever. Thank you very much. Such lovely audience. So forgiving of any mistakes. And if you are a bard out there and you think, oh, should I try it? Honestly, you would never find a better audience than a bunch of druids together. Because Stephen and I would go to like a pub to go and try and play some of our songs. And because we would sing a song about the green man or about the drum, which is nature, people just didn't get it really. But then the second that we stood on stage in Glastonbury and sung our little 3 songs, people were like, wow, they get it.
That's right.
Yes. So, yes.
The first time I heard you sing was in the Roundhouse at Caimabon.
Yes.
Just so beautiful. Just so lovely. So we're going to have another song later, aren't we?
We'll have one more, yes.
Good. If our audience is good, they'll get another song. What would you say has been your greatest achievement, or the thing that you're most proud of in your life?
Do you know what, Eimear? I have to say that I haven't got anything that I am particularly going, oh, this was my amazing thing that I achieved. I think for me, I'm proud of the fact that I've become so much more comfortable with myself, and
Lovely.
I'm just comfortable in my own skin and with who and what I am. And I think that, and also the other thing is, I do sometimes think about this. I'm proud of the fact that as far as I know, I am not actually in conflict with anyone. I haven't got, like a scratchy stuff going on in my life. And I'm not saying that conflict is wrong or anything like that, but I think it's about resolving conflict quickly. I think how quickly you can resolve conflict and have a state of peace again. And I feel proud of myself when I can say what I have got, that state of peacefulness in my life and in my conscience. I haven't got anything that's pricking me and making me feel uncomfortable in terms of the people that you work with, with family members, with things like that. I think it's quite difficult sometimes to keep the peace. And if someone then, if I sometimes think, okay, fine. So if there is conflict, and you then decide that you're not going to take part in that, and if you don't throw more bait out, then they're not going to have anything to snap at. So I think, really, for me, I think I feel proudest of myself when I know I've got that nice equilibrium of calm.
Well done. And it's interesting. I'm going to bring you back to the first one, is about being comfortable in your own skin. And Anne says, oh, but it's so wonderful for helping people to be comfortable in their own skin. Because I think for many, many people, I think for most of us at some point in our life, that is the real challenge, is to accept ourselves as we are. And to be able to overcome that and get to a point to say, I'm not perfect, I'm highly flawed, I have this, that isn't perfect, and yet I can accept myself. And I suppose, the going through the course, which is very much a personal development path, and providing you with opportunities to work through those challenges, to be able to come to be the best possible person you can be, however that manifests itself. So, I mean, it is an achievement to be able to come to that place. I don't know how other people feel about this or their own reactions to this. It'd be interesting to hear your comments. And so, would you say, just like Anne says, OBOT is wonderful for helping you, would you say that your journey through the grades, or is there anything particularly about being a druid or going through the course that has actually brought you to this place where you are so self-accepting?
It's difficult to say that there was a specific point, but as you said, working through the course, you're working through the bardic grade first, and you're getting to know yourself better in the fact that you are finding your own creativity, you are finding your own voice, and you get to know yourself better because of that. And then, of course, you come into the ovate grade. Now, without giving things away, ovate grade is one that you have to work with. Yes. And through that grade, definitely a lot of self-acceptance, a lot of working through. And then when you come to the druid grade, as we know, the idea is then that you could have, yes. I'm so scared to say something that I shouldn't say.
No,
Yes, but it is for me. For me, it was a gradual process, and Stephen and I have been in Obourn now for 13 years.
yeah.
So that's quite a long time to be developing oneself. So yes, so I would say that it has been a slow process, but I can feel all the time that it's getting much easier to be in that place of calm contentment.
Wonderful. Wonderful to hear that. What is the most reckless thing you've done? Have you done anything reckless? I mean, it's when you're talking about that peace and that sense of not having any itchy bits or scratchy bits or whatever. And I'm wondering, have you done anything reckless? And I mean, what's reckless for one is not reckless for somebody else. So I'm talking about what you felt was
reckless.
Yeah.
So so when I finished school, I went to Teachers College. Hence, that is then why I was able to come to the UK to become a supply teacher. Now, I went to Teachers College and I studied the teaching, but I never actually taught in South Africa. I then did a different job. But then because I was in Teachers College, through a connection, someone invited me to be an au pair in the States, in America.
Okay.
So this was before I came here. I then went and I did some au pair work in America. But I was still very young. I was very young. I was basically fresh out of college. So I was, what would I have been? About 17, about 20, right?
Okay.
About 20. So I went into this family's home, and I was their au pair, and I gave it my best shot. And but I wouldn't want to say anything horrible about family, but I felt like it wasn't for me, and I was not happy with the circumstances. So in the middle of the night, I packed my bag and I just left. And I basically had nowhere really to go. I won't go deep into it, but I had nowhere really to go. It was very reckless. And I went and I found myself a little job as a waitress downtown Manhattan, where you still had Twin Towers standing. Yeah. So I worked at this restaurant called Stark's Veranda, and I worked there as a waitress. And for the rest of it, I just went off into New York and just did whatever I wanted, just to go and explore. And I felt as free as a bird, and anything could have happened to me. And my mum and my dad was beside themselves because, of course, you didn't have mobile phones those days.
Yeah.
So there was no way for them to contact me. So I think that was reckless. But I got back home to South Africa in one piece. And I do sometimes think that there is like some angels that watch over reckless youngsters in their 20s and in their teens. I think there's got to be something, because I can't even imagine how I did that, where I just went off and just looked what would the next day bring. As long as I had a few dollars in my pocket, I would go off to Coney Island and I would speak to this one and that one. I think that was very reckless. That was for me was reckless.
Well, the thing is, if we don't take risks,
Mm.
push out that edge, get out of our comfort zone, what do we learn? And I do think, I think myself, how doing things, I said, something or someone must have been protecting me.
Totally. Yes.
That,
And you're so right about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Because I can remember the minute that I left the family and I went, I felt as free as a bird. I was just walking on clouds. I felt so free. And it is in that freedom, in that risk, where the joy and the elevated state that I found myself in was because of that risk that I took.
yeah, you could have chosen to be safe and stay where you were physically safe, maybe. I don't know what the circumstances were, but maybe not psychologically or emotionally safe. And so you giving up that freedom just for security, and then you didn't, and then look at what you have. And that you did the right thing from the way you felt, that free as a bird.
Yes.
Yes, Tracy says maybe there was more recklessness in remaining with the family, and that could well have been. Natasha, who's from an ex-Peter, she says an ex-Maritzburger, now living in France. I assume it's Peter Maritzburg, is it? Or
Yes,
Maritzburg.
Wow.
So she said, I have many guardians. I did the same, zoomed off to New York with the FDNY, something New York. Anyway, I don't know what that is. And had a ball. And there is a thing about getting out there. Michelle says, I did something similar, and had I not, I would not have met my husband and had my 3 wonderful children. Well, there you are.
See, exactly. That is exactly it. Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes. So very interesting. I knew there would be more people out there that can go, I've zoomed off and been reckless. Absolutely. Yes.
Yes, I know Ellie. You know Ellie.
Yes.
She was a guest, one of my earlier guests, and I was asking her the same question. And she suddenly went off to was it Nepal or Tibet? And just left what she was doing and just booked a flight the next day, and off she went.
Wow.
And it worked out, but it was like, what?
Yes.
It's that sometimes you're moved or you're inspired to do something. Thanks, Ricky. The fire department, New York. That's FDNY.
Fire department. Here we go.
And then Pat says, whenever I'm doing something breathtakingly dumb, I always have the same sense, or have the sense of this is going to be okay. Like genuine catastrophes tend to pop up out of nowhere unexpectedly while doing dull stuff. Yeah. So
that's great, Pat.
then Natasha comes back, yes, the fire department, on a work exchange, then took a delay, a pass, and flew wherever on standby. Oh my God. Also zoomed off to Nepal and Tibet. Was profound.
Oh, another one. Yes. Wow.
I mean, that's really interesting to go to an airport and just say on standby, I'm happy to, well, whatever flight's available, I'm going to do that.
Oh, incredible. Yes.
I find that really, really interesting. Yeah, I think haven't done it, but I do go off in my camper van on my own and love to be in the woods and things like that. But I mean, I've traveled, but that's a really interesting one. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So have you any regrets?
Oh gosh, do you know what, Eimear? I actually do sometimes. That's also one that I sometimes think about, and I can't say that I do. I don't. I just don't feel like I have any regrets, because I might sometimes think that maybe if I took this path or that path, it might have worked out better. But I just could never say. So I actually don't feel like I have any regrets that I can say. I feel every mistake that I've made has brought me to this point.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I had my mistakes.
Yes.
But you know, life doesn't give you a rehearsal, isn't it?
Yes.
So one might think that you are going, look, you're never going to do something that you know would make you unhappy. You're always going to choose something because you think that it's going to make you happy.
Or the hope it will, yes.
Or in the hope, yes, exactly. But if it then doesn't make you happy, well, then it's like, oh, you know, like maybe picking the wrong partner or something like that. It's very easy to then for other people then to go, well, so, you know, couldn't you see some warning signs? But you don't go into it, you know, looking for all the warning signs. You go into it and you might think, well, you know, I'm not so sure of this and this, but I do like this and this. And then further down the road, you find that person wasn't actually for you.
Yeah.
And then you just have to move on. It's okay. It's not something to regret. It is just another stage or a chapter of your life that you are going to learn from.
Yeah, and it's about the learning from it.
That's what it is.
So somebody says you don't learn from experience, but you learn from your reflection on your experience.
Yes. Cleverly put, yes.
Sometimes you can have the same pattern. Yeah.
Yes.
You find yourself back doing the same thing again and again and again, having not reflected on it. And I think being able to value that reflection and value the experience. And I suppose, you know, when you say you've been in a relationship before that didn't work out, and you're now in a relationship that is, that's lovely because one frees you up for the other.
Absolutely. And you learn, what I've learned is that relationships, when they work, they don't have to be hard work. I came from you know, I came from the whole upbringing where you were always told, oh, marriage is hard work. It's really hard. You've got to work on it day after day. But I haven't felt that my marriage just even was hard work for even one day, really. I probably am just extremely fortunate, but and I'm sure for some people they have to work quite hard. But yes, I think for me, yeah, I don't want to say
maybe he'll come in the room and he'll say you should be working harder, Marita.
He might. He's gonna watch this and say to me, no,
I'll pick up on that one.
That
because I mean relationships do require work.
Yes,
but it shouldn't be hell. You know that it's that engaging in an intimate relationship requires some level of work, but it doesn't have to be hardship.
No. It is when before I met Stephen, or sort of in the process, well, you know, when I met him, sort of, I was reading a book called Soulmates.
Yeah.
And that book said that for a relationship to work, there only has to be two things. Both people must be equally 100% committed to the relationship. And the second thing is an even deal. An even deal. If there's an even deal, then there's no resentment, and it just seems to just work. And I always think, you know, when you are overstepping the line. I don't know, maybe some people don't quite know when they're overstepping the line. I'm not quite sure. But for me and for Stephen, we know when we are overstepping the line. So when I've now been lying around on the sofa for, you know, my 2 hours or my 3 hours or whatever, then I have to get a little bit of something saying to me, okay, Marita, you know, maybe you should get up and do the dishes as Stephen made the lunch.
Yes.
You know, that type of thing. You know where that fine line is, I think.
By the way, he says he's watching and listening. So be careful. I read Gabriella said, I read somewhere that there has to be an easy part to good relationships, even with struggles. There has to be something that runs easily and smoothly. And absolutely, there has to be, I think, a sense of friendship, a sense of affection. There's love, whatever love means. Love has many different ways of expressing itself. There's obviously a sexual attraction, but there's that wanting the best for each other around not being possessive, but being loyal.
Yes.
And there has to be that sense of ease that, like, when you're coming home and you go, well, your partner is going to be there. And it's like, yeah, it may not be, ooh, passion, but
No, yes.
passion's good. I'm not getting passion, and I'm not against passion, but it's that sense of homecoming.
Absolutely.
This is where you can rest your head and rest your soul. And to be able to have that in a relationship, I think, is really, really important. Then that helps you with the temperamental issues or whatever it is to help you carry through that.
Absolutely. No, you're right. Yes.
So, is there anything you change about your life?
Anything I change about my life? Oh dear. No, I'm really, really content. I just can't think of anything that I would want to change. We often sit and we go, is there anything that we particularly want or so? And we go, no, we really are quite just content with the way that it is. Just going forward as it is at the moment, we'll be more than happy. Yes.
So what is it that someone says, and both in a relationship having a good sense of humor? That's another one. I would absolutely agree with that. A sense of humor.
Yes. Got to laugh.
Taking yourselves lightly, but not the relationship lightly. That it's
really said, yes.
And checking in, doing a review of your relationship, I think, is a really important one.
Yes.
And I know part of the course is about doing reviews at different times, life reviews, and I think it's very, very important in a relationship as well. But a sense of humor. What is it that you're grateful for?
So when you look at the big picture of what's going on, we have the puppet masters who are pulling all the strings and algorithms, and we are part of the commercial web, and also things like, if you really get into it, you think about what's happening to our food, what's happening to the seed with Monsanto and all that. I'm not going to go into that. But for most of what I am grateful for is that in my life and how it feels, I feel like I have free will. I do feel like I have free will. I know some people say, oh, you're not free because you are just, a number and people are pushing you around and so on. But for me, as far as I feel, I have free will in that I was able to pick the person who I want to get married to. We are living in a time when you are allowed to, in this country, you can believe what you want and you can talk about that. It's not even that long ago that, if you look at King Henry VIII, that beheaded Anne Boleyn because she didn't give him a son. That type of thing. Or I'm sure you watched the Handmaid's Tale, Yes.
I read
So
it. I wouldn't watch it. I read it 30 years ago, 31
okay,
years ago.
that type of thing where you are totally indoctrinated and you are told this is how you've got to be and this is what you're going to be doing with your life. I think we're living in a fantastic time, and also in a fantastic, well, in a country where we can be free for most of how we feel. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I mean, I used to think that until
Yes,
the last few years,
yes,
where it hasn't been so safe to
mm,
speak your mind, say on social media,
yeah,
and we will have people being cancelled for having different worldviews,
mm,
and you may make a fairly innocuous comment, and then it becomes reframed into something that's
mm,
vicious or hateful, and people get so. In a sense, I used to think I mean, I still think I'm still living in a better world than a few hundred years ago. I'm
yes,
healthy. I'm independent. When I became a widow, I didn't have to marry my brother-in-law. But
yes,
I think there's right now, in terms of freedom of speech, that's a bit disappointing in the last few years. And I'm hoping we'll come through that
mm,
because, yeah, Carmen says there's a lot of places where people are not so free.
yes.
And
I
Michelle
think
says, I'm always afraid to comment on anything on social media.
mm,
And I think that's true. And then Stephen, your husband, listen to him. This is the best time to be of service as Druids. And I know within the order,
mm,
uh, um, I mean, as an order, we have no dogma and encourage diverse viewpoints. That doesn't mean all members of the order allow that. Sometimes there's, you know,
yes,
social media like blow ups and things. But that
mm,
the idea is, I think, being of service as Druids is also
mm,
allowing freedom of expression
mm,
and
yeah,
we talk about ethics and looking at our actions through an ethical lens. And I think if we look through our actions as an ethical lens, we are looking at our words and how we speak through an ethical lens. That we still allow diverse viewpoints to be aired, and I think that's really, really important. I remember in history, when I was in school, I had an excellent history teacher, Mrs. Reid, and she used to talk about the censorship that had been in Ireland. So you had Beckett and Joyce and Kate O'Brien and with Edna O'Brien in the 60s, censored and books banned. And Edna
mm,
O'Brien, still a lot, brilliant writer, had her books burnt, by the local parish priest, this kind of stuff.
yes,
And how we've moved away from that in terms of books. But now on social media, you can be removed from the various platforms because someone has said I don't like that. So we need to get back to allowing that freedom of
mm,
expression. I'm not
mm,
talking about hateful expression. I'm talking about just having a different viewpoint.
mm,
Um,
yes,
the
yes,
time where most of people on the planet live in spheres, but up to now,
mm,
um, maybe, but it depends on where you are. When you think of
yes,
Iran, where women are now out protesting and burning their hijabs and cutting their hair in
mm,
protest at the oppression of them, and we're very lucky here. Long may
yes,
it last.
yes. I think that is it. I think for me, I feel grateful that in my little nest here, I can do what I want, and I can make friends with whom I want, and I can go out for most and do what I want. And frankly, I actually don't do social media. So
Aha! So
maybe that is why I also don't feel too um, I haven't been caught up in any such disputes. So possibly that's not something that's fresh in my memory. Oh my gosh, But I yes, but so I think maybe I'm quite my world, without saying that it's small. I think I keep it quite close to me, my boundaries, and I work within this. And also when it comes to getting a feeling of feeling overburdened by what's going on with climate change, and looking at the Amazon, and then you look at the poor lemurs in Madagascar. They have got no forests anymore to climb up the trees, and then that the polar bears, the North Pole is getting smaller, and they haven't got enough ice. It sometimes gets too much for me. I can't cope with it. So what I do is I make my boundaries a bit smaller, and I go, okay, well, I'm going to concentrate on the robin, and I'm going to concentrate on the red kite, and I'm going to concentrate on what's immediate here. And I think this is why I say I feel grateful for the fact that in immediate surroundings, I feel that I am quite free.
And that's lovely to hear that. And I suppose I know Joanna Macy, whom I'm a great fan of. She was talking about taking on issues. You have to choose them. You can't do everything. So the idea of like you're focusing on the robin or the red kite, or focusing on your own landscape, and what is it you can do, and what's the smallest step that you can take to achieve something.
Yes.
It can be a hard one, and I think it can be very overwhelming. We have a building resilience for hard times listening circle within the order. We meet once a month online for people to talk about that, and that's been really, really helpful. So that and I find it myself really, really useful to talk about. We use it. We go by the elements. So if at the time, what are we doing? Fire, I think. So, or water. You think of the element of what does it bring up, and you can talk about that, and that can be really, really helpful to manage our anxieties around all of this. And it provides, I suppose, a safe container, because it's free of ideology, but it's a place that you can be heard.
And that's something to be grateful for, isn't it? That we've got something like OBOD, where you've got this network, and you can. And you've got kindred spirits. So so if you say to me, what are you grateful for? I'm deeply grateful for OBOD. And obviously many, many other things, many other things. The fact that I'm sitting here, I'm healthy, and all those amazing things. Yes, OBOD is something huge to be grateful for.
So I want to get back. So just one quick. What brings you joy?
I am a people person. I love delving into people's minds, into their psyche. So what brings me joy is to either sit with Stephen and have a little brandy at the end of a day and have a little talk with one another, or to go out with one of my friends. I'm not a group. I'm not a groupie person. For instance, I've got a lot of girlfriends, for instance, but I would never get the girlfriends together and go out with them. I will take one girlfriend, and we will go and have coffee. And it gives me immense joy to sit and talk to my friends. I love that. I love that. To just get to understand them better, and to share. And I always, that whole thing that after you've seen a friend that it was a good visit, when you come away from it feeling elated and not totally drained, agony aunt for the millionth time. You both have shared experiences, and you've shared ideas and viewpoints, and I've said something that she's learned, and vice versa, and we come away from it richer.
You're nourished by it.
That's joy. Yes, nourishment. That gives me joy. Obviously, and also nature and all those things. But yes, I love people.
And when Stephen makes you Italian?
What's that?
When Stephen says when he makes you I
Oh,
assume it's Italian food, not Italian.
Stephen knows. Stephen knows my favorite cuisine is Italian. So if you're going to give me Parmigiano and sun-dried tomatoes and olives and olive oil and all those, and pasta, that makes me very happy as well. That gives me joy.
Oh, beautiful. Tracy says, and I agree with you, introverts like to have meaningful one-on-one conversations. Introversion is my superpower. Yes, it's the richness. I mean, I like going out with a group, but I'm much better in the smaller, sitting around a table, that small group, or one-to-one, because your conversations can be
Yes.
so much more enriching.
Yes.
And it's nice to have this. So your friends are really important to you then?
Yes, my friends are very important to me. I have handpicked them over many years, and as we all know, you simply cannot really have too many, because if you want true friendships, you haven't got the time for too many. Not because you're being stingy, but because you actually haven't got the time to really be interested in them if you've got too many. It just becomes, the more you have, the more superficial it all becomes, isn't it? And the fewer you have, the deeper you can actually go. And it's that depth. It's that depth of understanding that gives me joy. Yes.
It's interesting. Pat says, I love a conversation where I learn something or get a new idea, something to look up or think about. And absolutely. And Angela says, and it must be nice to have friends. Sadly, I don't. And that's a pity, because I've had some really profound conversations with people who are not friends.
Yes, true.
But I have met them, and it's like there's somehow like a meeting of minds or a meeting of souls. And it's been a beautiful connection, a great conversation, and I've never met them again. And then there are other people I might know, I've known a long, long time, but wouldn't have a conversation of the same depth. So it's a really interesting one. And I don't know how you make friends. I can't say, this, if you do this and if you behave in this way, you'll get friends. It doesn't work that way. No. And I think I've been lucky. I remember I didn't have many friends when I was growing up. I remember my father told me it's going to be much harder as you get older to make friends. And that hasn't been my experience. And I met huge many people through the order.
Of course. And it must be so easy for you to just think, oh, this is a kindred spirit, this is a kindred spirit, this is a kindred spirit, because we're all in OBOD. You can virtually strike up a conversation with any OBOD member, and you can feel a real connection. We're on the same vibration, we're on the same wavelength. Yes. And it's just that connection is there automatically. So yes.
And then what I really like is having these chats, because I actually have really wonderful conversations in this medium that we haven't had a similar conversation. I know you, but we haven't had that because we're always doing something else. So I really enjoy having this platform to do that and really have interesting conversations. Go, I didn't know that about you, or I didn't know this. That is really fascinating. Yes. Angela says, I used to have friends in my teens, but they've all drifted away. But I've one friend from secondary school, and I've two friends from when I was nursing, and like they're different phases. Like my sister has all her friends from school. It's amazing. They meet several times a year. I think you sometimes life circumstances take you away, or you grow out, or you change, and your values or your worldviews change, your perspectives change. So, and it's about, I suppose, being able to meet people who, at some point, be able to get out there and meet people. But it's hard. I mean, Philippa says, I have a few friends whom I can share everything with and share my spiritual beliefs with others. Others are acquaintances who come and go, but don't really know me. And there's absolutely that.
Absolutely. Yes.
And Michelle says, I've some, but distance and time is an issue. Thank goodness for WhatsApp voice messaging. Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, I have friends that I mightn't be in touch with for 2 or 3 years.
I can't agree.
And we just pick up where we left off.
Yes. Oh, totally. Yes. Yes. I've only got one close friend. His name is Thijs, and he lives in Taiwan, and he's from school.
Okay.
But the rest are actually friends that I met here in my time in the UK. Yes. Yeah. I made some amazing friends here in the UK. Yes. Again, I just feel that and I'm quite sure if I was in South Africa, I would have made amazing friends there as well, for sure. But this is the way my path has taken me, and I've got amazing friends, and I'm grateful for them. And of course, my own bodies.
And it's just wonderful. Okay, so you're a singer, you're a songwriter, you play the whistle, the flute. So I'm curious as to the creative process for you. So where do you get your Awan, where do you get your Imas for writing the songs? Do you do a bit and then does Stephen do a bit, or do you do it together, or what? Do you have something you say, listen, I have an idea for a song, what do you think of this? And then you kind of co-create it together, or what? How do you do it? And where do you get the Awan from, or the Imas from?
So to come with who writes what, and so I've got songs which I've solely written myself, and he's got some that he has written, and then some that we've written together. So we have it like that. When it comes to where do the inspiration come from, that is very, very much driven by the Goers, because we have some songs which we can definitely say this was bardic. And then we can definitely say that these are ovatic.
Okay.
Ovatic songs. They are more into the field of transformation, shall we say. Yes, and soul searching. And then we've got some songs which is more druid, which is more about the knowing, a deeper feeling of knowing. So yes, but I mean, and please don't see it in these brackets, but for us that is how we experience things. Then in terms of the whole creativity, for me, the way that I usually write a song is I will get a tune first. So I might be playing something on the guitar, ping pong, and very simple, because I really, I only do E and G and A and D and F, but it really is not great. But I can come up with a tune, and then I'll go, oh, I like this tune. And then I will think, what does this tune make me think of?
Okay.
And very often then whatever is in my subconscious going around and around because of the worse or whatever, that would then spark something. And Stephen and I often talk about this, because we might listen to our album in the car or something, and we listen to it and we'll go, did we write that? because the Awan is strange. I don't know if any of you have found that you might just all of a sudden just have this spark, and something is born from it, and you don't actually know where it came from. And it's just there, and it's like, wow. And I think in meditation, if you are quiet for long enough, we know that in meditation, it's like the pond is becoming calm and the water is still, and it's just sitting like a mirror. And because it is like a mirror and it's still, then if you have an inspirational bubble that comes from the bottom, and it comes up and it goes, whoop. You actually can see it because the water is not churning and
Yeah.
heavy, and so you can actually get that little bubble of inspiration. And that sometimes happens when you're sleeping and you wake up and it's like, Eureka, I know. You might have been struggling with a verse for a song and you cannot get it and then all of a sudden you're sleeping and you wake up and you go, I've got it.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to be. And it doesn't have to just be with songwriting. It can be with anything. It can be writing a book, a poem. It can be for a painting. If you're going to paint something, it can be for anything creative. I'm sure you've had something like that.
So I know when chants come to me or stories, it's I'm out of the landscape by a river, or I'm in the landscape where I know a story has taken place. And it'll come to me that way, and maybe a tune or that'll come, and then I have my phone, and I mean, it took me a long time to cop on to record it as soon as in my head, because I think I'll remember this, and I don't.
Yes.
So if it comes, then I keep repeating it and recording it and improving on it. But it doesn't happen here in this room.
No.
This is where the editing happens. I have something in nature. So where does it happen? Does it happen in your sitting room, or is it when you're walking someplace?
Well, it has happened in the sitting room before. Children of the Sun happened right here on Christmas Day. Stephen and I were, we don't usually do the Christmas thing. We usually would be quiet here by ourselves, doing our thing. We don't like the momentum of everything gets quicker, so we are quite calm. So that happened here. But I don't know if you know Laloba, that other song. Yes.
So your name. Yeah.
Yes. The Laloba happened when I was cycling on my bike to the on the Lee on the River Lee. So I was cycling and the words came to me, and it is quite a fast-paced song, isn't it? It's you take me, break me, bury me. So
do the lyrics come before the tune?
No, the tune with me. The tune always comes first.
Okay.
Yes, because if I haven't got a tune, I know it sounds probably like, but I don't know. I just don't know. The creative process is really strange, but I usually always have a tune first because I have to have a tune.
No, I'm with you on that one.
I have to have the tune because if you would write a tune on your harp and you have a tune and you think, oh, this is beautiful, and then you go out and you go and walk in your landscape, and then you think, oh, I'm going to write a song about the blackbird.
Okay.
And then you're going to listen, you're going to have the tune, and you then might start going, the blackbird sings, or whatever, and you start filling in words, and before you know it, you've got a song. It's not actually that hard.
Yeah. I've done a few, really, and that's recently, just part of my stories, and I was like, oh, that's nice. I'm really pleased. So anyway,
your stories with little tiny songs on your harp. I mean, you're probably doing it anyway, but my gosh, magic, absolute magic.
Thank you.
So yes, absolute magic. Eimear, you are the best storyteller ever.
You keep telling me this and make me feel really good. And now it's on air.
It's true. True, isn't it? It is true. So now you've got the harp, and now you can mold the two together because it's magical. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, it's certainly a work in progress. So
stop embarrassing you now.
Just Gabriella, who says that there's old stone circles in South Africa called Adam's Calendar. They do exist, she says.
Okay.
So maybe something to look up for you.
Well, I will be. Yes, definitely. I know. And if my mum and my sister watches this, they're probably going to be like, oh, Marita, how can you embarrass yourself like this?
Well, you haven't, not in my book anyway. So before we go to a song, so what concerns you about the modern world? When you dipped in, the climate. What is it that concerns you about the modern world? Like one thing.
Well, gosh, there's so much to be concerned about, isn't it? But I think just for me, the main word that I want to come up with is respect.
Okay.
Respect for just so much that's just not feeling to me like the respect is there. And again, I just feel like and I'm just talking broadly, but I think that yes, respect for Mother Earth is not there. I feel that respect for one another, for people aren't really respecting one another. I think there is a really big part of, and any parents out there, I'm not pointing any fingers, but I'm saying that overall, it feels to me like there's not really that respect necessarily between children and their teachers and people for the police. And that type of respect is just not really there, I feel. And
where
then
where do you think that's coming from? That lack of respect?
I think on a very, very deep level, it might actually be that we're not in touch with ourselves, and we are not in touch with nature.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that distance where we are not in touch with nature, we might not be able to see and appreciate the beauty so much. And I don't know, I think it infiltrates into everything, really, into the fiber. I just think if we have that connection with nature, we have a deeper understanding of ourselves, and with that understanding comes a self-respect, and because of that self-respect, it comes a respect for that around you. And I just think it's sort of like a it just ripples outwards.
Because it's really interesting. I grew up when my mother was saying, students, young people do not respect their elders and they don't respect authority. And it was always a bad thing. And for me, a lot of it was that when I was growing up, respect only went one way. It had to be the lower, the lesser, the younger for the older or whatever. And in many ways, there were the role models of my parents' generation. Some were really poor role models. And it's like, well, you haven't earned, if you haven't respect, it has to go two ways. I respect you, you respect me. And and I think that seems to be, it's that everybody is deserving of respect. And I think that comes from that sense of interconnectedness. So if you talk about people not being in touch with nature, there's that sense of fragmentation, that sense of isolation, that lends to people in power who have that sense of fragmentation and no nature connect are abusive. Those who are less, there's that lack of respect. And I think we all need to have that sense of interconnectedness, that we are one rather than looking at it from a hierarchical perspective.
Yes.
So again, it comes back to me, my connection with myself. You were talking about, you started off at the beginning, on your way to work, you are walking from your house to the train, and it's noticing, what am I noticing? And it's that connection, noticing the yellow roses, noticing their perfume, the blackbird, whoever you meet on the way, or the robin. That's very, very important. That it's my relationship with myself and then around. And it's interesting. And I'm just looking at comments here. Ricky says, and I agree with you, Ricky, there's too many who conflate respect with authority or fear. And I used to teach assertiveness and in a multicultural situation. And often my students would say, I'd say, well, what's the word in your language? And often in certain languages, that the word for respect and fear was the same.
Oh, really?
So, and the respect I was taught for adults is it came out of fear, because if I found, I remember as a young adult, when an older adult was being abusive of their power with me, I would never defend myself because, no, they're an adult. I've always been taught to respect adults. But then I realized, no, I am afraid of them. It's fear rather than actual respect. So, and then Philip says, when I was young, there was respect for doctors, teachers, nurses, nature, care for ourselves, and kindness to others. Yes, there was, but there was also abuse of those people in those categories who, not nature, who did abuse their power. And I think when anyone is in a position of esteem or authority, it's very easy to abuse that. So it's like we all need to, in a sense, make ourselves respectable. In that, not in the kind of the notion of by respectable, I mean is that you are worthy of respect, rather than,
Yes, no, I like that very much so. Yes.
And then Ferdiad says, and I remember every generation complains that the youth are wayward and not respectful enough. There's historical sources from the 10th century complaining about the very same stuff. Maybe it's a cycle that perpetuates. I think I came across, and I don't know, I've looked at the quote by Aristotle about young people and how awful they were. And I went to look for it again. I couldn't find it. So where I read it mightn't have been an accurate source, but 10th century, that's far enough. That, and I'm conscious, with my very, very old age, when somebody's half my age complaining about young people and saying that they're not respectful, I go, you sound like my mother who's in her 80s. Wait a second, I've heard this so many times. And Ricky and I again agree, mutual respect should be the default.
Yes.
And then once that respect has been lost or betrayed, then it must be earned. And I think it's not about saying, I trust me, I'm a druid, I have, or respect me, I'm a druid. You have to earn that. Absolutely.
Yes.
And then Ferdiad, who's a teacher, having spent many, many years teaching teenagers, it's about building a reciprocal relationship. It has to work both ways. You have to give a reason to be respected, truly respect, not that's the respectability, and hopefully respect your students too. It takes time, effort, and can't be granted. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. No one deserves it. You have to earn it. No one has the right. I think we all have a right to be respected, but it has to be both. It has to be mutual.
Yeah. Hats off to Ferdinand. It must be a hard job. Oh my gosh, teenagers. I can remember when I was here in primary school doing supply teaching. Oh my goodness, it was tricky. It was tricky, especially a Friday afternoon. A Friday afternoon to try and keep some form of order in that class was so difficult. So yes.
Anyway. And then Jackie, it makes a good point. The state of society today is not the fault of the young, but we expect them to respect their elders. But you see, that was the expectation when I was young, in the last century. So I think it's always been, and I think it's unfair.
It is very unfair to see it like that. Totally. Yes.
I don't know what. It's just, Ricky, I met someone today deliberately flaunting their youth by confirming their year of birth was 1999. Okay. So, what gives you hope then when we look at, this lack of respect? So is there any hope around that, or what gives you hope for the modern world?
Do you know, I can genuinely feel a shift in. There are so many different movements at the moment where, even if you go into the shops now, you can see there's lots of recycled clothing. They are trying to recycle, and the whole the whole fact that so many people are trying to come off meat, and there is definitely good things happening out there, and I can really genuinely feel that shift. I don't know if anyone out there is knows a lot about the whole thing with the age of Aquarius. But I've heard a lot of people talking about the fact that we are moving into the age of Aquarius, and it's a changing of times, and people are starting to understand what we've done to the planet over all these, over the last century almost, not maybe the whole century, but I mean, you know what I mean, Eimear. We are seeing a shift.
Maybe among individuals, I would just hope that at a larger scale as well, that we would have that. But I suppose everything starts. And also, I think talking about it, I remember somebody just a few years ago saying, well, what can we do about, what one thing we can do about climate change is talk about it. Talk about these, have them on the agenda. I think it's a really, really important one. And Philip says, hopefully that shift grows, and I hope so too. But it's to keep talking about it.
This is it, and as we know, this is our job as Druids.
Yeah.
To talk about this, and even when I go to work, I'm hearing all my little colleagues are like, oh, let's not print this. Let's not print this. Why would we want to, destroy more trees? And they aren't even Druids, so it is going all over, and I can hear things all the time, and let's recycle this rather, or let's do this. So there is definitely a shift there, and then us as Druids, we need to talk about it. But I think when, I don't know if you and Stephen, when you had his talk, your talk with him, he said that protesting, because he was in the police for many years, and protesting and screaming and shouting and getting cross, and so isn't necessarily the way that's going to convince people. The way to convince is to work very small and gently in your own area. Go out, take your litter picker and go and pick some litter up, because I've got so much respect for some of the old men that I see out here with their litter pickers, and they pick up their litter, and not their litter, the litter that's all over the place. And I think, wow, that's great. Yeah. And I think that's, actions do.
Yeah.
It's wonderful if people do.
And modeling it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Modeling it, absolutely. Yes. So
I think it's time for another song before we finish. What do you think?
Yes, I shall.
Water to moisten the vocal cords.
Yes, absolutely. So, right. This song was actually, we wrote this song even before we entered or joined the order. But then, of course, in joining the order, you just realize also again how apt it is, and so on. And it is about a woman, and she lives on the outskirts of town. And she's very much misunderstood. She's a little bit witchy. She's a little bit, Druid, possibly. I wouldn't say that all Druids fit into that category of witchy and weird, but some people can maybe sometimes feel like they are a little bit like, what is she up to, or what is he up to, this weird person? So this song is about a lady who lives on the outskirts of town. So I'll just leave it at that. The words are quite self-explanatory. So She lives on the outskirts of town, where the evening sun sheds its golden gown. Quietly alone, she moves between earth and sky, amidst all the rumors of passers go by. She knows the sacred secrets the elders have told, roots, potions, crystals, feathers, silver and gold. She works her magic, for you'll reap what you sow. The wheel turns and kind deeds come back to you threefold. She's a woman with fire in her hair. She's a seeker with emerald in her eyes. She sees more than the eye can tell. Like a goddess, she floats upon the air. Untouched and free, she drifts between market stalls, picking what she needs for the magic that she brews. A healing potion, a tincture or a tea, for everything from an injury to banishing the blues. The dark trees call as the sun goes down. She visits her friend with his antlered crown. This quiet place welcomes her with open door. She finds her peace amongst the leaves of the forest floor. Many stories about her has been told. A wicked woman from the underworld, to the devil her soul's been sold. Fearful eyes watch her go, only heaven and the angels would know. But quietly, inwardly, her strength would grow. She's a woman with fire in her hair. She's a seeker with emerald in her eyes. She sees more than the eye can tell. She's a goddess who floats upon the air. Who floats upon the air.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you.
When Stephen plays the guitar, it actually comes more to an end, but I had to just stop somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So you wrote that before you joined the order. So what was the inspiration? Did you have some woman in mind when you were doing that?
Well, it's I would say a part of it is me.
Okay.
And I always had this affinity with women who are a bit mysterious, who keeps themselves busy with all their,
Okay.
you know, their potions and their things, you know,
Yeah.
and a little bit witchy, for, you know, that type of woman. And I even saw a little bit of my sister in that, because my sister sort of floated around the place. My sister's 3 years older than I am, and I always had a bit of, you know, my sister was always very mysterious, always very busy with her own thing, and I so much wanted to know what it is that she was busy doing. And I think my sister definitely is a bit in there as well. And then for me now, when I, you know, because it's the woman with fire in her hair.
I love that.
Now, the fire in her hair would be a redhead for me, because when the sun shines on the hair,
that's right,
it's fiery. And Floriana, for instance, with her fiery hair, springs to mind. And then I also find that Joe Dunbar, and I know there's many other people out there, but Joe Dunbar, because she's a hedge witch.
It's a herbalist as well. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, that knowing of which herbs does what, and the alchemy of it, and it's just incredible. So yes, so I see a lot of Druid women fit into this, and a bit of myself, and even a bit of you, Eimear.
I used to be a redhead before I went wise.
I know that. So very much a song for you.
Oh, you're really kind. Thank you. So listen, we're coming to the end of our time. So I would like to ask you, like my usual question, what is your favorite season and what is your favorite festival to mark the wheel of the year?
My favorite season is actually now, autumn.
Okay.
I love autumn. I love the colors. I love just the changing of it's just beautiful. And I do like the introspective sort of it's coming to an end. And I know that the cold is coming, and it's difficult for me. Being
Yes.
South African, it is very, very hard. But I do also like the fact that you can go into yourself and get a little bit more introspective. So I like that. And then I would say probably my favorite. I really, really love Imolc.
Yeah.
Yes, just love it. Love Imolc. Absolutely. I think it's beautiful, yes. And I also like Samhain, but I'm not allowed to pick more than one. So I'll just say all and
Well, some people choose and say the one I'm at, So I mean,
yes.
I like them all, but yes.
Yes. I know. There's always some beauty in all of them to be found. So yes, sure.
So we've come to the end of our time, and it has been just such a joy talking to you, Maritha. And I look forward to when we meet, as my daughter used to say, in real.
In real.
Real, which will probably be the summer, because
So
our winter gathering is going to be online. So see you perhaps online playing, but
yes.
it would be lovely to meet in real. It'll be 2023. So so people are saying thank you. So if you just say goodbye to everybody, and then you can go back, and then we can just chat and we can look at the comments after this. So
well, thank you everybody for listening, your beautiful comments, and for just being there and holding the space with us, because it's all of us together that makes this so special. Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, lovely. Well, good night or good day to everybody out there. Bye.
See you soon. So thank you so much again for turning up, and for those of you who did a bit of research for us around stones, stone circles and sacred sites. It has been absolutely lovely, and really again appreciate your comments. And I know, again, I don't get to read them all or comment to be able to comment on them all the time, but I know we will look at them later. So I look forward to enjoy the rest of your day or evening, wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you for another chat next week. And until then, Slán go fóill.